For 40 years, Thunder Canyon broke every champion who entered. "No cowboy survives our bulls," laughed the arena owner. Lane Frost, just 22, tipped his hat and walked toward the gate. What happened next silenced 40 years of unbeaten legends. Drop a thumb up if you're ready for this legendary showdown. Subscribe and tell us where you're watching from. Have you ever seen a cowboy face impossible odds? Let's right into this story. The dust hadn't settled from the last Cowboys defeat when the crowd at Thunder Canyon fell silent. Jake Morrison, a three-time world champion, limped out of the arena with his pride shattered and his shoulder dislocated. The announcer's voice cracked through the speakers. "That's number 47, folks. 47 champions who couldn't last 8 seconds on Thunder Canyon's bulls." Lane Frost sat in his pickup truck outside the arena gates, watching the stream of defeated Cowboys emerge. His hands gripped the steering wheel as doubt crept into his mind. The invitation letter lay crumpled on the dashboard, a challenge that had arrived at his ranch 3 weeks ago with a simple message. "Think you're different? Prove it. You don't have to do this, son." The voice belonged to Red Patterson, Lane's mentor and the closest thing to a father figure he'd had since losing his dad in a ranch accident 5 years earlier. Red had driven all the way from Texas to try talking sense into the young cowboy. Lane stepped out of the truck, his boots hitting the Montana dirt with determination. 40 years, Red. 40 years of broken dreams and shattered confidence. Someone's got to break that streak. And why's it got to be you? Red's weathered face showed genuine concern. "You've got a promising career ahead. Don't throw it away on some cursed arena." Lane adjusted his hat and looked toward the massive gates of Thunder Canyon. The arena loomed like an ancient coliseum, its wooden stands scarred by decades of witnessing defeat. Local legends whispered that the bulls here weren't just wild, they were supernatural, bred from stock that seemed to possess an almost human intelligence for humiliating riders. "Because someone has to care about more than just winning," Lane replied quietly. "Look at these guys, Red. They're not just losing rides, they're losing faith in themselves. Some of them never compete again after this place breaks them." Inside the arena, a crowd of local ranchers and curious spectators had gathered. Word traveled fast in the rodeo circuit when someone accepted Thunder Canyon's challenge. Most came to witness another spectacular failure, but something about Lane Frost's reputation preceded him. This wasn't just another glory-seeking cowboy. This was someone who helped injured competitors, who shared his prize money with struggling families, who saw rodeo as more than just sport. Buck Harrison, Thunder Canyon's owner, emerged from the shadows near the chutes. At 65, he carried himself with the swagger of a man who'd built an empire on broken cowboys' dreams. His arena charged premium prices for spectators who wanted to watch champions fall, and he'd grown wealthy on the entertainment value of public humiliation. Well, Buck called out as Lane approached. The Texas Golden Boy decided to show up after all. "You sure about this, son? I've seen grown men cry leaving this arena." Lane met his gaze steadily. "I'm sure, but I've got one condition." Buck raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Conditions? Nobody makes conditions here, boy. If I ride your bulls, all 3 of them for the full 8 seconds each, you retire this place as a challenge arena. No more breaking cowboys for sport." The crowd murmured in surprise. Buck laughed, but there was something uneasy in his expression. "And if you fail like all the others? Then I'll personally endorse this place as the ultimate test. I'll bring every champion I know here to face your bulls." Lane's voice carried a weight that silenced the arena. "But I won't fail." Buck's smile faltered slightly. In 40 years, no cowboy had ever proposed stakes this high. Most came seeking glory. This young man seemed to be seeking justice. "You got yourself a deal, Frost. Hope you're ready to meet your maker." As Lane walked toward the holding area, Red caught his arm. "Son, what you're really riding for here, it's bigger than just 8 seconds, isn't it?" Lane nodded, his eyes reflecting something deeper than ambition. "These bulls don't just test your riding ability, Red. They test who you really are when everything's on the line, and I need to know." The first bull stood in the chute like a mountain of rage and muscle. Devil's Backbone, a massive black beast with horns that could pierce steel, and eyes that seemed to burn with intelligence. The crowd pressed against the rails as Lane lowered himself onto the animal's back, feeling the raw power beneath him vibrate through the metal chute. "This one's ended more careers than a bad knee injury," whispered Tommy Chen, a young cowboy who'd been following Lane's career. "Look at those scars on his hide. Each one represents a rider who thought he was special." Lane wrapped the rope around his gloved hand, feeling the familiar ritual calm his nerves. But this wasn't familiar territory. Devil's backbone wasn't just moving. He was calculating, shifting his weight strategically as if studying his rider's balance points. Lane had never encountered an animal this aware of the competition. 8 seconds, he whispered to himself. Just 8 seconds. The chute gate exploded open. Devil's backbone didn't just buck. He orchestrated a symphony of chaos. He launched skyward with a violence that rattled Lane's bones, then twisted midair in a corkscrew motion that defied physics. Lane felt his shoulder pop, his vision blur, but he held on. The bull landed hard and immediately launched into a spinning sequence that would have sent most riders flying within 3 seconds. But Lane had spent years studying not just technique, but the psychology of bucking bulls. He could feel Devil's backbone's rhythm, the slight hesitation before each direction change. At 5 seconds, when the bull attempted his signature move, a backward flip that had hospitalized 12 riders, Lane was ready. He shifted his weight forward and rode through the chaos like he was born for this moment. The 8-second buzzer sounded like a miracle. Lane dismounted cleanly as the crowd erupted. Buck Harrison's face had drained of color. In 40 years, no one had stayed on Devil's backbone past 4 seconds. But Lane wasn't celebrating. He was studying the next chute, where Widowmaker waited. "One down," Red called from the rails, his voice barely audible over the stunned crowd. But Lane could see the concern in his mentor's eyes. That first ride had taken everything out of most cowboys. 2 more bulls of equal caliber would test limits that few humans possessed. Widowmaker was smaller than Devil's backbone but moved like lightning trapped in muscle. This bull's reputation came from his unpredictability. No pattern, no rhythm, just pure chaotic violence. As Lane settled onto his back, he felt something different. This animal wasn't just trying to throw him, it was trying to hurt him. The gate opened to 8 seconds of controlled insanity. Widowmaker bucked in directions that seemed to violate the laws of motion. Lane's ribs cracked against the bull's spine. His free arm flailed for balance that didn't exist. At 3 seconds, the bull attempted to crush him against the fence. At 5 seconds, Lane's grip started to slip as blood from a reopened cut on his palm made the rope treacherous. But something extraordinary happened at 6 seconds. Through the pain and chaos, Lane found a moment of perfect clarity. He wasn't fighting the bull anymore. He was dancing with him. His body moved with an instinct that transcended technique, finding balance in the heart of the storm. 8 seconds, 2 bulls down. The crowd was on its feet, witnessing something that challenged everything they believed about Thunder Canyon's invincibility. But Buck Harrison wasn't finished. He walked to the final chute where the arena's ultimate weapon waited. Nightmare's End. A bull so dangerous he was rarely used, even at Thunder Canyon. "This is where it stops, boy," Buck called out, his voice carrying 40 years of confidence. "This bull has never been ridden. Not once, not even close." Lane looked at the massive gray bull in the final chute. Nightmare's End stood perfectly still, but his eyes held something that made Lane's blood run cold. This wasn't just an animal. This was Thunder Canyon's final guardian, and he was staring at Lane like he'd been waiting for this moment his entire life. "Red," Lane called to his mentor, blood trickling from his nose. "If this doesn't work out..." "Don't talk like that, son. You've come this far." Lane nodded and walked toward his destiny, knowing that the next 8 seconds would either break 40 years of legend or break him completely. Nightmare's End stood motionless in the chute, but his stillness was more terrifying than any display of aggression. This bull had broken bones, ended careers, and sent riders to hospitals with injuries that haunted them forever. As Lane lowered himself onto the massive gray beast, he felt something he'd never experienced before. The animal was completely relaxed, as if he knew something Lane didn't. "This ain't right. Tommy Chen whispered from the rails. "He never acts calm like this." Buck Harrison climbed the chute fence, his face serious for the first time all evening. "Last chance to walk away, Frost. This bull, he's different. Some say he's got a mean streak that goes beyond animal instinct." Lane looked into Nightmare's End's eyes and saw intelligence that made his skin crawl. This wasn't just a bucking bull. This was a creature that seemed to understand the stakes of this moment. But Lane also saw something else in those dark eyes. Respect. The bull had watched him ride the first two, and now they were measuring each other as equals. "Open the gate," Lane said quietly. What happened next defied everything anyone thought they knew about rodeo. Nightmare's End exploded from the chute with a violence that shook the entire arena structure. But this wasn't just bucking. This was warfare. The bull launched into a sequence of moves that seemed choreographed by physics and fury. A vertical leap followed by a mid-air barrel roll, landing into an immediate reverse spin that would have snapped most riders' necks. Lane felt his body breaking apart. His ribs screamed, his shoulder burned, and his vision started to tunnel. At 3 seconds, Nightmare's End threw himself sideways toward the arena wall, trying to crush his rider. Lane pulled his leg up just in time to avoid having it shattered. But at 4 seconds, something miraculous happened. Lane stopped trying to survive the ride and started trying to understand it. Through the chaos, he began to feel Nightmare's End's rhythm. Not a pattern, but an intention. This bull wasn't just trying to throw him, he was testing him. Every violent move was a question. How much do you want this? How far will you go? Who are you when everything breaks down? At 5 seconds, Lane found his answer. He wasn't just a cowboy trying to prove a point. He was someone who believed that impossible things could be overcome if you cared enough about what lay on the other side. He thought about every broken cowboy who'd left Thunder Canyon defeated, every dream that had died in this arena, every person who'd been told they weren't good enough. 6 seconds. Lane's grip was slipping, his body was failing, but his spirit was growing stronger. Nightmare's End sensed the change and launched into his final sequence, a combination of moves that had never been survived. 7 seconds felt like a lifetime. The bull twisted into a spiral that defied gravity, then slammed down with enough force to crack the arena floor. Lane felt something fundamental shift inside him, not breaking, but transforming. He wasn't holding on anymore. He was flying. 8 seconds. The buzzer sounded like thunder across a silent arena. Nightmare's End stopped instantly, as if a switch had been flipped. Lane dismounted on shaking legs, and, in a moment that would be talked about for decades, the massive bull turned and looked at him with what could only be described as approval, before walking calmly toward the exit gate. The crowd erupted, but Buck Harrison sat heavily on the chute fence, his empire of broken dreams crumbling around him. 40 years of invincibility had ended with a young cowboy who rode not for glory, but for everyone who'd ever been told they couldn't. Red reached Lane first, tears streaming down his weathered face. "Son, what you just did, it wasn't about riding bulls." Lane nodded, his body aching but his heart full. It was about proving that sometimes when you care about something bigger than yourself, impossible becomes possible. Buck Harrison approached slowly, extending his hand. "A deal's a deal, Frost. Thunder Canyon retires from breaking cowboys." He paused, looking around his arena with something resembling regret. "Maybe it's time we started building them up instead." As Lane walked out of Thunder Canyon, the last arena to defeat him, he carried with him more than just victory. He carried the knowledge that true courage isn't about being fearless. It's about being afraid and choosing to care anyway.